Human trafficking in Russia. The statistics. Russia has had an increase of 6 known cases of human trafficking per year through 2006 and 2007. The cases of slave labor which are known in Russia have also nearly doubled from 2006 to 2007. From 2006 to 2007, there was a massive increase in nearly 100 of cases of forced prostitution that was known. There is a 25-to-1 female to male ratio in the known human trafficking ring in Russia. Here are the geographical contributions. Russia is the largest country in the world, spanning 2 continents, and it also has 14 bordering countries, which attract a lot of immigrants for work or other economic reasons, which is a leading contribution to said human trafficking issues. Causation. Politically, there is a lack of investigation for human trafficking and the victims thereof, where the government just simply doesn't look into it and lets all cases of missing persons or whatever just slide. There's corruption in the government, whether it be forging documents or identifications of victims in order to aid human traffickers, or just the government involved in it, as there have been many cases where generals in the Russian army have been found participating in human trafficking rings. The government also simply does not care, and they just don't care about making laws or anything or enacting them to actually help aid in the ending of human trafficking. There are also a plethora of economic reasons, that being forced labor, which is one of the main uses of the victims in human trafficking, alongside forced prostitution. 90% of forced labor is used in the private industry. The 2018 FIFA World Cup and 2014 Sochi Winter Olympics were held by Russia to make themselves more appealing in the world's eyes, and both of those events were heavily contributed to by the use of human trafficking. And also 25 to 60% of Russia's GDP comes from shadow economy, which is an economy that cannot 100% be certain what it's of, but the highest likelihood is forced labor. And then there are also social causes, those being immigration for going back to economic lack of jobs that people need, or other reasons due to for immigration. Gender discrimination, as even though educationally both women and men get an equal chance, women make 75% less than men do in Russia, so they may seek out other occupations which could lead to them getting into the human trafficking world. Anton is a person who had to sadly experience being a victim of human trafficking in Russia. Anton was in search of a job when he went from Novgorod to Moscow via train. On the train, a man talked to him, and they were talking about how he's in search of a job, and the man offered him a good job by the sea. Anton took this man up for his offer, and when they went to the factory paid the distributor of Anton what is $278 in the US. Anton was told by the factory owner that he had to repay his debt that was paid for him. And this took him many months. He figured he was making 10,000 rubles a month, so he figured it would only take him 2, but when he asked, he said no, because cigarettes, alcohol, food, bedding, all that was in the debt, and it was just a massive spiral that would lead to Anton never getting out of the forced labor ring, until eventually, months later, he was saved by a organization that looks to combat human trafficking. Made by the Russian government to prevent human trafficking. There have been practically no efforts the Russian government has actually made to prevent human trafficking. They gain so much from it. They have no reason to. They make laws, but they don't enact the laws. They don't prosecute. They don't punish. They let it slide. They participate in human trafficking. They don't care. There have been practically no efforts the Russian government has actually made to prevent human trafficking. The impact of human trafficking in Russia. Politically, human trafficking has led to Russia looking more powerful, which can be seen in holding the Olympics and FIFA World Cup, which human trafficking allowed them to do. And many politicians get involved in human trafficking scandals within Russia, so it impacts their politics and like the decisions they make. Economically, Russia's economy flourishes as a result of human trafficking because like 25 to 60% of the GDP comes from human trafficking. And socially, there is a lot of trauma on those involved and their families in the human trafficking ring within Russia. Russia compared to other countries, human trafficking wise. Russia actually has a better education than most countries with a huge human trafficking issue, as seen by the 99.73 literacy rate in Russia as compared to a nation like Nepal, which only has a 68%. Russia also shares Tier 3 on the USA's list for worst human trafficking offenders with 16 other nations, those being Afghanistan, Algeria, Burma, China, Comoros, Cuba, Eritrea, Iran, Nicaragua, North Korea, South Sudan, Syria, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. And Russia is the largest country in the world, with 14 bordering countries tied for first, and 12,438 miles of land borders, which is the second most. So it has a lot more land than many of the other countries do. And that is the end for the sad reality of human trafficking in a nation such as Russia.